Criminals are definitely getting smarter. Every criminal is using whatever available technology to be able to commit the crimes more efficiently and effectively. Their job is to victimize the community and do it in a way where they don't get caught.
The Torrance Police Department is committed to using innovation and technology to not only outsmart criminals, but also to reach out to the public, to assist our citizens with knowing how to interact better with the police department, and to assist the prosecuting agencies with making their cases presentable to a jury. One of the recent things that we've done in the last couple years is related to crime trends within the city. We had a very forward-thinking gang detail who was in the midst of investigating a number of these crimes on a regular basis, where gangs from Los Angeles were coming into the city of Torrance and committing crimes. And there was a lot of data that they were able to obtain, but sifting through that data was very difficult.
They gave us kind of a new mandate, which was do something different than what's been done here before, be innovative and find a way to investigate these crimes, which kind of led to a relationship with the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office.
It's absolutely essential to have innovative detectives and investigators to keep ahead of crime. Our job is to use the technology to our advantage so that we can make sure that they're held responsible for the crimes that they're committing.
We looked outside of law enforcement. We actually ended up finding some people who were working on a project at Harvard. And we reached out and started a relationship with them in terms of how do we develop something that helps us get through the data and find the things that we need.
I'm Scott, I'm the CEO of Mark 43. When we started working with Torrance in 2013, what we found was a group of detectives and a command staff that was pushing the cutting edge in technology. They were trying out new techniques that we had not seen anywhere across the country, and we really wanted to be a part of that. The software we built with the Torrance Police Department is really all about mapping relationships between criminals, looking at how they work together, how they talk together, what they do, and how we can actually use those networks of those relationships to help find criminal connections, to find the perpetrators of crimes and really start bringing people to justice.
We've been taking a real intricate look at some of the criminal behavior patterns of the East Coast Crips. This case has been going on for 4 years, and it was one of the first cases that we kind of started looking at it differently than we had other cases.
The East Coast Crips, it was one of the most notorious gangs that we identified involved in a sophisticated criminal enterprise involving residential burglaries.
The biggest thing about the way this was investigated over 4 years as compared to other cases that we'd investigated is that we used a lot of technology, primarily social media, telephones, call pattern analysis, recorded jail calls, tolls from toll booths, GPS tracking data, a lot of different kinds of technology that generated different kinds of data sets. The software Mark 43 is essentially, it's a records management system. All the different data sets you have, you put into this system, and then you can run a link analysis to try to find the connections between the different members of the gang.
We're looking at some social media video, and if you listen to the rap song, it comments on flocking, which is street vernacular for residential burglaries, and just bragging about the lifestyle and glamorizing it.
One of the things about social media with the criminal street gangs is that a fundamental part of being a member of a street gang is your reputation and being able to brag about the crimes that you commit and being able to brag about the bounty that you receive from the crimes.
We find that sometimes they're even as bold as to video when they're on their way to go, what they call going to school or going to class, which is another code for going to do burglaries.
We learned that on a daily basis, these burglary crews, which usually consisted of about 3 or 4 guys, would go out and commit anywhere from 3 to 5 burglaries a day, 4 or 5 times a week, depending on their take.
Most of these guys have been arrested numerous times for residential burglary and received nothing more than 6 months in county jail and probation time, and they came right back out and continued to do the crimes. Operation Moneybags was the culmination of the 4-year case. And so essentially the morning of that was you had about 400 officers from maybe 18 different agencies that came together at about 3 o'clock in the morning to execute search warrants at about 30+ locations, in which we took in about 15 people that we were looking for. The software and the analysis showed you how systemic the problem was in this gang. And when you can link a bunch of counts on there and you can go back to the courts and you can say they didn't just do 1, they did 12. And it's not just a bad day, it's a pattern of behavior that's not going to end. And then now you've given the district attorneys the kinds of ammunition they need to say, hey, these guys have had their chances. They didn't just make a bad decision. This is systemic behavior. They need the maximum kinds of penalties. And then you start getting significant kinds of time.
It's important for us as a command staff to understand that our personnel who are out there investigating these crimes have a better idea of how to improve their investigative abilities. It's kind of the trust that's been built over time here with our gang unit and our other investigators, and we continue to try to preach that and to use them as an example of how folks can take that innovation and bring it forward and utilize it in a very positive manner.
Really what happened in Torrance is a success story. It's a success story because you have detectives who are able to then be creative about the ways to obtain the technology and be able to use that technology to gather evidence to prove the suspects are held responsible for those crimes and that the community itself is safer. That is what separates Torrance detectives from routine detectives at different agencies.